Hello, my friends in the true storytelling community. I'm Dr. D, and I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about how entrepreneurs can create these opportune moments through the process of manipulating the flow of kairological time. Now, specifically, this process is what we call articulation, and let me tell you how it works. Articulation means the entrepreneur starts with some sort of an abstract dream or a vision. I want to be rich, happy, famous, whatever it is. And they try to translate that dream into a story. The entrepreneur then tells this story to different stakeholders, and the stakeholders, of course, are not just people who listen to a story, but they're active participants in the story. They give feedback. So they say, well, I like the parts of the story, but maybe change this part. So then what the entrepreneur does is they integrate that feedback, and then they retell the new story to those same stakeholders. And the result is those stakeholders realize they are active participants in this narrative, and they can contribute to that narrative for their own ways and their own reasons. This is the process of articulation. So it's about opportunity as not a thing to be discovered or created, but rather this moment in time, this alignment process. Now, these kinds of stories can take two different forms. They can embrace the potentiality of the future, or they can embrace the potentiality of the past. This is how we manipulate the flow of kairological time. So let me give an example of the flow, manipulating the flow of kairological time from a layperson's perspective before I relate it back to entrepreneurship. One time I was in one of my classes and one of my students told me, well, you know what, Dr. D, if I only had 5 minutes left to live, I'd spend it in your class because I know it would feel like an eternity. I don't think that was a compliment. On the other hand, the expression time flies when you're having fun? Well, you can do the same thing within organizations. And you think about this. Sometimes you hear someone, and this is an example of potentiality of the future. Someone says, oh, it takes 8 months to get that done. Well, chances are, if they're only spending like 5 minutes a day, and they're really dragging their feet during those 5 minutes, yeah, it will take 8 months to get it done. But when they realize that they are active co-participants in this story, and they can contribute to it for their own ways and their own reasons, they can put aside other conflicting narratives, and they can more wholeheartedly contribute to this particular story. So instead of it taking 8 months to get that done, it might only take a day. Now, we can also engage in what we call reviving the potentiality of the past. Sometimes this process is called rehistoricizing. And that's when you start and say, hey, do you remember the good old days when you were happy or we did things like this? We're like, yeah, I remember that. Well, wouldn't you like to revive some of that just a little bit? Of course, the answer is always going to be yes. And so you can recreate the good old days and recreate those certain older processes for today's success. And that's embracing the potentiality of the past. And so this is how you can create these kinds of alignments. Now, my question for you, my audience, is the following. First of all, have you ever been a co-participant in one of these kinds of stories? A story that embraces the potentiality of the future, or a story that embraces the potentiality of the past? If so, put it down in the comments below. My second question for all of you is, have you ever been the entrepreneur who weaves this story? And if so, tell me what that story looked like. Put it in the comments below. And as always, if you like this particular video, hit that like button, that's a thumbs up, or make sure you subscribe. And if you have any questions about articulation, definitely put those in the comments down below as well. Thank you, I'm looking forward to seeing you in my future videos.